Hmm? Oh? Still here? I do believe I dismissed class quite some time ago. You are free to go. Oh? Just taking some extra time to roam and admire the library here. Well, I do appreciate an inquisitive mind, always ready to learn. So who am I to turn away one seeking higher knowledge? Go on then. Peruse the temporal archives as you wish. You have all the time in the world to study. Oh, since time here is on my terms, in this space I've created. You can read an entire saga of old, or delve deep into a complete historical event and still be home in time for dinner. Quite funny, is it not? Now, if I were you, I'd take advantage of this opportunity. You'll find that this place holds more knowledge than you may comprehend. But you seem like the type to take that as a challenge, don't you? Good. Now on with you. Knowledge awaits, dearest student. Have fun. Ah, I see you've made yourself comfortable here. Gotten all the essentials for study session, have you? Brings back some fond memories. I remember my time in academia. I would pester the keeper of tomes in our school's library to let me stay overnight, as I would set up a blanket and sleeping arrangements in the corner of the room so I wouldn't have to stop my research. I saw sleep as a weakness when I could stay up and continue learning. Yes, but that was long, long ago. I now find myself in the role of keeper of tomes. And now you, my precious student, are doing me proud with your tireless efforts. Such a will is beyond admirable. And as such, deserves to be rewarded. So, since we deal with secrets and hidden knowledge here in my classroom, I shall reward you accordingly. Ask of me anything you would like to have a deeper understanding of, and I shall give unto you the gift of knowledge. Think of it as like a extra class, but without the stress of having to remember it for a test. Secrets, lore, corruption, power. Ask of it, and you shall know. So, what will it be, my darling student? Huh? You want to know more about me? The architect? I am quite surprised by the request, but not disappointed either. Huh. Very well. As you have asked, and so you shall receive. I am a man of my word, after all. Plus, this mask was getting kind of stuffy anyways. Much better. Well then, I believe a new introduction is in order. My name is Arthur, and I'm the one you have come to know as the Architect. A pleasure to formally meet you. Now, formalities aside, as for your reward, let's pretend we're in class. This time your topic is me. Where to begin? I haven't told this story in quite some time. Well, I was born in early Alvec in Arcanum, in a time after the Tri-Banner conflict on who would control Altera, the new land. This was the time when legends of a woman who was able to heal any illness was circulating, and the new discovery of Leo's half-bloods was causing confusion with humanity. As a Vec, I had a natural inclination to glyph magic that my people had replicated in the image of our gods, the Divines. And I'd began my studies to become a mage of the new Academy of Thessalia after setting sail to the new land. I showed signs of extreme prowess and control over my magic. And thus so I was put ahead of my class. They called me a prodigy, and began training me and prepping me to become a magister as soon as I graduated. Seeing my knowledge put into action, the task was relatively easy. I became a white-robe magister after I graduated, then became a teacher at the academy, and then one who would help lead the new land of Altera into a future of magic and understanding. They built me a tower far south of the land where I could conduct my research in solitude and return my findings then to the academy. In my time there, I developed a nasty little habit out of boredom. I had an addiction of sorts. I spent every moment of every day developing new glyph magics, testing the limits of their powers, and then writing them all down in my books. I couldn't stop. I needed to learn all that there was, every aspect of magic, every ounce of magic power there was to gain. And so, day in and day out, I created magic rituals, made new glyphs from the old ones that could channel various magics further and further from the divine design, filled various tomes and grimoires with all of my findings, enough to even fill my own personal library, authored by nothing but me. I took what was supposed to be the power of the divines and twisted and edited it into different ways so that we as mortals could harness more and more of its magic. And then, in the height of my addictive need for magic knowledge, I had what I thought was an epiphany. What if I stopped trying to twist the divine marks to fit mortals, and instead try to twist mortality to fit the divine? If I could achieve this, I would be able to bypass my own mortality and even become the source of divinity. I could become immortal, all-powerful. I would be a god. But when I was creating the ritual for it, I needed a base of divine power to build off of. A jumpstart, if you will. We can't just conjure pure divine magic as mortal beings. It's impossible. So, I needed to find something that would supply me with an adequate amount of divine energy for the theorized ritual to even be near a reality. And then, I discovered the moon bell. Recent legends told me it was a healing remedy, but I know divine power when I see it. So, I took as many as I could find. The problem was, they were extremely, extremely rare. Bella had only just become a divine at the time. She hadn't cried long enough. So, I needed more. Something more than just simple flowers. And that's when I heard the stories. Stories of mortals being blessed by the divines to gain a little bit of their power naturally. Something like that would have been just the thing I needed. And so, I heard of these two individuals. A popular man with a pink mark on his hand, and a woman with verdant green eyes who could identify any plant she laid her eyes upon. Muses, they called themselves. Muses of the divine. So, I found them and borrowed their gifts so that I can complete my ritual. And then I began the rite. I used blood to trace the invocations and glyphs of power all over my body. It was forbidden. Blood glyphs are forbidden. But I needed as much power as I could for my ritual to work, and I wasn't about to let some stigma or taboo flaw my progress. And then I casted the spell that would grant me access to all of the power of a divine. But it didn't go as I planned. Not exactly. This magic was never intended to be given to mortals, and I had broken every law of nature and magic to slip past the veil of my own mortality and force myself into a higher existence. But this power wasn't intended for mortals, as I soon discovered. The marks on my skin that I had placed had begun to burn, and they seared their way into my own flesh. The agony was unbearable. It was so unbearable that I tried to scratch and claw my own skin off just to stop the burning. But to no avail. And then it began to all collect in my body. All of this power and magic and divinity began to collect inside of me. And it grew until it could no longer be contained by my mere flesh and bones. And then it released itself. It released itself in an explosion large enough to devour half of my tower and me with it. Everything was just gone in a flash. And for me, everything went white. And then darkness. vast, endless, expansive darkness. I didn't know where I was. Well, all that was left of me. I was just floating, adrift in a sea of nothingness, with mere pieces left of my body that I called my own. Cold, dark, and alone. Until he came. The one who I had tried to imitate. And looked over me with gentle pity, as if he was looking at a child who had just made a careless mistake. And then he had so ever calmly asked me if I had found what I was looking for. I couldn't speak, but it was as if he already knew my answer. And then he had took what was left of me into his arms, and he said that he forgave me for everything. And before I could even shed a tear, he fixed me, gave me a new name, gave me a new purpose. In Arcanon, a selfish mage who casted a far too ambitious spell had passed away from his own hubris. And in this new space with him, the architect had been born. And now I float around from place to place and time to time, educating people just as I did when I was a magister. Just now, I teach a sort of different class. And the rest you know very well. Here you are now, in my library. So, dear student, did that explanation meet your needs? I guess you can do with this information what you will. And perhaps stick around after class again sometimes. Maybe I'll teach you more.